I got an email from Jesus for Asia, and the email said, "You are invited to India." At first I said to myself, this sounds really interesting. But then India is so far from Barbados. You know, it's like all across the ocean.
When I went to Faith Camp East, especially after 10 Maddox, I was saying, oh man, you know what? I feel like I need to put some time into missions.
One day in church service, John spoke up and said, "Is there anyone who would like to go to India?" And I raised my hand. And I prayed about it. And I'm not sure how I could do it because of work. I ended up getting 2 weeks off. And the Lord really blessed.
We didn't even think it was possible initially. God started out providing just $20, and I was reminded how He doesn't start something He doesn't finish, and it's all been paid for.
So I said, okay, if I'm ready to go, I'm going to get this visa without any problems. And it said it would take 72 hours to get a reply. So on the third day, it was like, okay, I'm going to give them an extra day. But the nighttime, I was so excited. It was like, I want to see if they sent a reply. And when I opened my email, visa was granted. So I said, yes, I'm going to India.
Back in 2007, we found some churches that had been closed due to lack of pastoral care. And we were looking at wanting to do some evangelism. We thought, well, maybe we should just revive some churches instead of building new ones. So we did a 6-village effort. And last year, in 2019, I was looking around that area. Bible workers were still there. It was growing and just exploding, and it kind of felt like it had reached a critical mass. And I thought, man, this was so successful. I'd like to do this again. There's no reason why we can't do it again.
In preparation for coming to India, I was advised by our director, Kibudula in Tanzania, that okay, when you go through immigration, you don't let them know in any way that you're a missionary. So when I landed in India, I went through immigration, and the fellow at the desk started asking me questions. And I was trying to dodge, but I felt like I was being cornered. But then he finally asked me, he said, "Are you a missionary?" I said, "Yes." There was no way I could have answered any differently. And he got this disturbed look on his face, stamped my passport and says, "Go." And he let me go.
Think of it as a family. Just give me a second.
Thank you.
We wanted to do something different. A lot of times we bring the evangelism that we do in America over here, but here they don't know who Jesus is, they don't know who God is, they don't know there's one God. They have around 300 million gods. And so we wanted to give them the big picture, the overall picture of the story of redemption. And so we started this series from before Lucifer's fall, and we're going to end it after sin has been eradicated completely from the universe. And so it gives people a big picture how to see and how to fit the details of the individual teachings of Christianity in.
When I came here, I was told I would be preaching. That's way out of my comfort zone, way out. But I kept on telling people it's the Lord, not me. He's gonna do the preaching. So the first night I was very nervous, and I made it through it. We have 9 nights, and the people are eager to learn. They're out on the porches, they're pulling extra chairs in, the children are sitting down in front, they're taking notes. It's been an awesome experience to see these children and the people hungering after the message.
By American standards, we would hardly consider it a church. It was so small, but there were quite a few people who came. We actually found out that 70% of the people who were coming weren't actually Adventist. There's a lot of other Christian groups kind of in the area. So people from those other Christian churches were coming to the meetings and learning things about the Bible that they said that they'd never really seen before. Our translator told us that there were a couple girls we had met and interacted with that ended up having a Bible study with him until like 11 o'clock one night. I don't know, when I heard that I was just like so happy. Just to be a part of that is really special.
They were small children, they were young people, they were old people from Hindu background. They came for prayer, they asked the preacher to pray for them.
There were so many in need of prayer. So we would pray with them. We would pray with the children. Families would come over and they wanted prayer for their whole family. Some that were sick, hurt foot, stomach problems, head problems, eye injury, accident. They would come in need of prayer and we would pray with them.
So Sabbath night, right after the meeting, the pastor had me and Sarah praying for people. So the first lady who came to me, someone in her family was sick. It was very vague. I didn't know the details, but so I just prayed for her and, I asked the Lord to heal her family member. And, I didn't really think anything of it. I continued praying for other people. And then the next night, she told him that her grandson had a tumor. And she had come to our meeting that night. She's a church member and she had asked us to pray that the tumor would go away. And so the next day, they got some test results and the tumor is actually completely gone and no longer there. So we just definitely praised God for that. It was kind of unexpected, but it definitely showed me that my faith is very small and I need to believe that when we ask that we will receive.
The first night of our meetings, we had a young man that I introduced myself to him and asked him his name. He said his name was Shiva, which I thought was rather strange name for a Christian, because I assumed he was one of the members here. And he came back the next night and the pastor's wife introduced him to me as the priest in this little temple right here about 50 feet from us. And he wanted to talk with me, wanted me to pray for him and for his little boy who was with him. And so we visited a few minutes and then we had prayer together and dedicated his little boy to Jesus. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if he'll be back tonight or not, but the Holy Spirit is working.
After the first night, the pastor at our church had been in a motorcycle accident, which was absolutely shocking to us. We were told that he had been having trouble sleeping for a really long time, and so he was really exhausted and fell asleep on his motorcycle and crashed it. But he was wearing a helmet and he came to the church even the next day. He had been in the hospital, but he came to the church anyway. And his hand was all super swollen and he had cuts and scrapes on his face and his arms and his foot. We really felt like it was a miracle that he was okay, and that the prayers we'd prayed for everyone who's going to be involved in the trip, from the translators, the people driving the vehicles, the participants, the people who were coming to the meetings. And those prayers that we prayed days and months in advance, God worked a miracle because of those prayers, and that was really impactful.
When we found out we were coming, Luke was really excited to speak. He was talking about it and planning to, and really excited to do it. And then when we got to our actual village, we get a lot of attention and it overwhelmed him. And so he got scared and he didn't want to speak. And our church was full. The first night, probably 80 to 90 people with people outside. And so he didn't want to do it. And for the next A few nights he would think he would do it, and then he would get really scared and not be able to. Even got up and stood up and tried and would have to sit down. But then I got sick, and he went with a friend, but then he was also not able to speak that night, got really scared again. And he'd been praying this whole time because he really wanted to, and he was trying to surrender and wanting to, but I could see there was a real battle going on between fear and him letting go of the fear and being willing just to let God use him. And after some talking and some more praying, he had decided he was going to do it. And so he did the health thing, which is the first 10 minutes or so, and he did it. He was scared, but he did it. And then I got up to preach, and I got about 20 minutes in and started coughing really bad, and then I broke out in this cold sweat and got all clammy. I felt like I was going to pass out. And so I had to sit down, and Luke had to get up and just finish, and he did a wonderful job. God just used him, and it was a beautiful thing. The next night, I did the health, but he wanted to do the sermon, and he did the whole sermon, and he did a really good job, and he was able to look up and engage with the audience and talk to them. It was really neat for my mother's heart to see.
We're all staying together in one place every night, eating together and sharing our learning experiences and praises and challenges and everything together every day. Every evening we have 10 teams going out. This is one. Myself and Brother Jason are ministering here at this small church. It's a very active church, powerful pastor, and we're having a wonderful time here.
The way they do things is a little bit different. The way they talk is a lot different. But when you move into their environment, you realize very quickly that people are people. They have the same emotions, the same joys, the same fears, the same concerns. And that's what I discovered here. When we went into our church and became acquainted with the people, it was very easy to relate on a personal level with them. It was very easy to just consider yourself a part of the family. And they appreciate that when you feel comfortable with them. And I appreciate the hospitality. And the people here were very hospitable. It makes it very difficult to come here for a short time and then pull up stakes and leave.
So we started last Sabbath and went throughout every night of the week. And then this Sabbath, we brought everybody together from all the 10 different villages. We all came together and had like a mini camp meeting type of thing. It's just Sabbath morning, but we had over 850 people there. And it was an amazing thing. The local people are telling me that it's such an encouragement because a lot of these people are in just little tiny churches and little tiny villages. They think they're the only ones that believe the way that we do. And it's so encouraging for them to come together and see the bigger group. You know, our focus isn't on baptisms. Our focus really is on encouraging the local Bible workers that are here day in and day out, and the pastors that are really working with the people, and that's definitely been a success.
We were so surprised and blessed to have 24 people accepted Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. They took baptism. It was an amazing moment, a blessed day. And by the grace of God, we were able to conclude the meeting that evening, but most of the churches, the pastors, the JFA workers, the members, the people who attended, the people who took baptism were very, very sad because that was our last day meeting. But we have assured them, by the grace of God, if we have a faithful walk, if it is not here, we will meet in heaven.
The look I see on the faces of the people that have been doing this, that have come on this trip, it tells me that people are satisfied. They've got this taste of sharing Jesus with others.
If you have a chance, it would be such a blessing to come and experience a mission trip. It changes your heart and it draws you nearer to God. It's been such a blessing to come, to give of yourself, to share with others. And I think everybody needs that chance.
It's not as easy as staying home would be. It's not as cheap as staying home is, but definitely has some value and definitely has some rewards. Even now, not to mention what it's going to look like when we get to heaven.
You know, I told each one of them that when we get to heaven, I wanted to meet each one of them again. And so I just asked, you know, if they would stand up, if they wanted to be in heaven, and they all stood up. And that was very special because, you know, we're all one big family, and once we get to heaven, we're all going to be speaking the same language, and that's what I look forward to.
The thing that keeps ringing in my head, man, throw everything away and get into the mission field, get into soul winning, change your job, change your career, whatever it takes to do, but get into soul winning for Christ. Because when it's all said and done, and He comes in the clouds of glory, everything else is going to be burnt to ash except for the people that you've won to the kingdom.